Good morning, everybody. I hope your Sunday is off to a great start. And every now and then, I start thinking about things that are relatively unimportant, little things, tiny little minutia, things that might get under my skin. And I thought, what a better time to discuss those things than over a cup of coffee with my friends on a Sunday morning. And today we are going to talk about some men who are so cool, so debonair, so in absolute control, they even knocked over Las Vegas. Of course, I'm talking about the Rat Pack. Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr. I guess we could throw Peter Lawford in there. Joey Bishop, I guess, was hanging around them for a while, wasn't he? And these guys just had it. They had everything. They were powerful men. They were men who, always looked good. They dressed to the T. They fit in wherever they were. They were just it. They were the cat's pajamas. Okay, look that one up. I think that goes back to the 1920s. But it kind of leads in to what I want to talk about today, because there is something that is truly disturbing. Did you see what happened to the Rat Pack in the late 60s? It was insane. Not even the mid to late 60s. They did a complete 180. They went from being suave and debonair and cool and sophisticated to almost a comical parody of themselves. In an attempt to, I suppose you could say that it was a midlife crisis. But these guys totally just blew up. It was so odd, so strange. Let's take a look at what Frank did in an attempt to maintain control and hang on to his youth. Watch this.
All leaves on a clover.
I can't believe that. I'm embarrassed for the man. Not only does that toupee look ridiculous, but own your baldness, men. Not only does the toupee look ridiculous, but those clothes, he decided to turn into a peacock. This looks so absurd. Frank was not in his 20s. He was a man in his 50s, approaching 60. And really, this was not a good look. But if you think that was bad, take a look at what happened to Sammy.
Daddy started out in San Francisco.
And of course, Sammy never backed off. Sammy ended up dressing just bizarrely like this for pretty much the rest of his life, going overboard with the jewelry and the necklaces and the rings, trying to make a statement. And then there's Lawford. I don't know what Peter Lawford was thinking when he got that bizarre haircut and those big mutton chops that were white. It just looked weird. Here's a little clip of Peter Lawford when he made a guest appearance on Bewitched.
You know what's extraordinary is nobody else ever suspected. How did you know?
Well, take the Van Gogh, for instance. Look at those brush strokes.
Okay, I have to give Lawford an out because he wasn't cool anymore. He was no longer a part of the Rat Pack. They had unceremoniously booted him out. They showed him to the door.
This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius, the age of Aquarius.
What about Dean Martin? Well, I have to give Dean Martin some credit. He was the only one that found a way to age gracefully. Although he did look a little ridiculous hanging out with all those gold diggers, the women in their 20s. And in his Matt Helm films, it was much the same way. Now, those were parodies, granted, of James Bond. But still, the guy, you could just tell that every joint hurt when he tried to run and get into those fake 1960s fights. By the way, have you ever noticed when you watch the 1960s movies and TV shows, they always give a karate chop, like right here in the neck, and it seems to put people out instantly. I think that the MMA fighters should learn that move. You just give a little karate chop right there, and it puts people out. Anyway, Dean Martin did okay. He would wear sweaters and open collar shirts, and he looked good and he looked appropriate for his age, so I can't pick on Dean Martin very much. But this was not limited to the Rat Pack. there were other celebrities that were doing the same crazy stuff. And we're going to take a look at Liberace now. Now granted, Liberace was always a little flamboyant, but he still had a little bit of dignity to him. That went out the window on this day.
Hello, young folk, what you shaking? I gotta try that scene you're making.
So happy you learned your lesson for today. No rules to remember and no dues to pay. When you play your piano, just look up and say, Life, I love you.
Feeling groovy.
Lee. What were you thinking? Anyway, what do you think of men who cannot age gracefully? Says the man in a Mickey Mouse t-shirt. Yes, I recognize the irony. But of course, I'm not going out in front of millions of people either. I mean, this channel just isn't all that popular. So, personally, I don't even like t-shirts, but I'm wearing one today because I'm just around the house. But what do you think of that? Who do you think is a parallel today? Do you see any celebrity who is getting up in years and rather than dressing and acting like a man, maybe in their 50s or 60s, they're just trying to hang on to youth a little too hard? If you can think of someone, leave it down below in the comments. Now I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'm Mark. This is the Average Me Channel.